Hello, buddy. Welcome back. After kind of taking a break from this for about a week or so, just to kind of get a couple ideas of a good way of going about seeing if I can fix it, I think I might have gotten it. Let's just do a quick recap of how we got to this point. All right, so I started the video off talking about my game plan and the sizes and how I come up with this right here. Then the next was to make some reference marks so I can start working on making my jig. Then using one of those little tools so I can make all my lines and circles nice and straight. Next was to take that template and screw it to the 1/2-inch plywood that I'll be using for the jig itself. Then using a skill saw and a jigsaw so I can start cutting it all out. Using a sander to refine everything and make everything as square as possible so everything's nice and symmetrical. Got the first section glued together. Now we're going to use the hot wire and the jig to make sure the profile worked out really good. Tried to build myself a custom mitering tool with a hot wire, which did not work. Ended up just using my normal hot wire and just making some notches in the wood to make it work. This actually worked out pretty decent. Then just doing a dry fit, using some masking tape to see how everything lines up and see what it's going to look like when it's all together. Got the tower all put together and started adding some expansion foam to the inside to make this thing nice and rigid and essentially one piece. Let the expansion foam dry overnight. Realized I ruined my entire piece. So we're going to try to correct it. That's what this video is. So now we're all caught up. Let's get to it. Okay, so now we got the recap out of the way. I'm going to kind of show you what I decided to try to do to see if I can salvage this project right here. So I screwed it down to my table, and I took one of my little sanders right here. It's mainly for drywall work and stuff like that. Put some sandpaper on here. I tried to refine the shape as much as I possibly could to get it back to where it originally was before I essentially destroyed it. Then I took some my foam gun, and in between the layers, I just shoved it in as far as I could and just filled that cavity as much as I could. Now, obviously, I stuck a heck of a lot more masking tape on it this time than last time. So this way, it kept everything as confined and as much as possible, so none of it can move or anything like that. And at this moment in time, before even pulling all the tape off, you can see this thing seems to be pretty rigid, actually. I mean, I'm just going to have some flex because it's styrofoam. But really, the next step is I'm just going to go ahead and pull this tape off, probably do some refining, and if everything looks like it's going to work, we'll go ahead and get the base built, start covering in some concrete mix, and we're actually going to see this project meet its completion. I'm actually kind of glad that it looks like it's salvageable, so go ahead and get started on that next.
Now, after I put all that expansion foam in there and wrapped all that tape around it, I let it sit for a good 5 days. I wanted to make sure that the expansion foam was done doing its thing before pulling that tape off. Last thing I wanted to do is run into that problem a second time. So what I'm working on right now is I'm just taking my knife and I'm just doing some quick refining of the overall shape, the bottom, stuff like that, anywhere where it maybe didn't line up properly, just to try to make everything look as even as possible. I'll be doing some more refining later on though, but this is just a preliminary. Alright, so with the basic refining done at the moment, I'm going to start working on the base. So right now I'm just making some measurements to try to figure out exactly how big the wood portion is going to be versus the thickness of the styrofoam. Alright, to kind of help save just a little bit of weight, I'm using 2x3s instead of 2x4s for this portion right here, and then the styrofoam is going to be wrapped around this. Alright, so next I'm just going to take my foam gun, I'm just going to put a nice little generous amount of foam on the back side of these. I'm going to tape everything together, and then I'm going to come back after that and just put some wood, just to make sure the centers stay as flat as possible while everything dries.
Okay, so I've been working on the base a little bit here. I have it attached to a piece of wood at the bottom. I did 2x down here just to make it so if it gets kicked or anything like that, there's something solid here. I think I'm going to put one more little piece of trim here just to kind of hide this gap right there. So when I caulk it, I can smooth everything out. The way I did the base, I put plywood on the bottom of a piece of 1/2 inch. So I left this a little taller and just did a recess so I can sit down inside there so I can screw it right to this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it on the floor real fast, kind of put it together and kind of show you where I'm at with this. All right, got it on the ground, got the two pieces married together. Got a little bit of refining to do on some of the lines to straighten some of the ones up on the top section there. Got that little piece of trim that I still want to do on the bottom. A little bit of caulking and stuff like that. Then the next step is to get ready to cover it in the concrete mix, get it all painted, age it up, start making it look old. And I think this one's actually going to shape up to be pretty nice. So the next step, let's get those few pieces on there and start covering this thing in some mud.
The base is shaping up pretty nice, but the problem right now is it looks very plain. So I'm just going to make a simple little RIP plaque to stick on the front side of it just to give it a little extra character. All right, with that all cut out, now it's time to go ahead and glue it to the face of the base. I'm just going to use a couple screws to hold it in place while it dries.
Okay, so I'm just about ready to start putting the concrete on it. I did find a little small soft spot up there, so I put some more foam in there, wrapped with some tape, and give it a good 24 hours or so to cure just to play it safe. Got that plaque put on there, got that last piece of trim put on there that I was talking about. So pretty much at this point, once that's dry enough, I'll go ahead and start coating this thing, getting it painted, and we will see this thing completed very soon.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and throw some plastic on the floor. This just kind of helps with a little of the extra cleanup. I still make a mess no matter what I do, but this helps. Now, all I'm using right here is just some latex house paint and some tile mortar mix, mixed together with a nice even consistency. The trick here is not to be concerned with trying to make it look nice, but more or less try to get it fully covered. So right here, I'm just getting it on as heavy as I possibly can, because as it starts the drying process, I can always come back and smooth it out and refine it, make it look nice. All right, so what I'm doing right here is I'm just using a soft bristle paintbrush and my air sprayer with just straight water in it. The water is more or less just giving it a little bit of a wet surface to where the paintbrush can glide over the surface, smoothing everything out, making everything even without dragging the material and pulling it off. And there's my super handy dandy forklift that makes life so much easier moving the stuff around, because at this point I can't pick it up and touch it until it's dry, so this is the best way to move it.
Okay, so it's all dry, ready for the next coat of paint. Sorry about the crappy camera angle earlier. I didn't realize the light coming through the garage was going to make it that hard to see what I was doing, but everything's all coated, ready to go. Now, the one thing I got to do next is put a heavy coat of gray on it. Because some of the problems that I have, because you're mixing two different materials together that have different cure times. So I always get like these little teeny kind of cracks and stuff like that in it. But once I put a heavy coat of gray on there, it seals all that up and makes a nice uniform finish. So that's what I got to do next. And after that, then I can start the aging process.
Some of those cracks that you see is mainly due to the fact that I was keeping the surface wet while smoothing everything out. So the concrete mix wants to dry, but the water's keeping it from drying. But once you cover this thing with the second layer of paint, everything fills in and you don't even notice it anymore. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with my black like I normally do, just to kind of outline certain detail areas and make a couple little run lines. One of the other things I like to do while I have the black in the gun is stand a little ways away from it and just kind of mist it over it. So it puts a bunch of little black specks and dots on it, kind of makes it look a little bit more like concrete. Next is to use that custom black dark green mix that I made to kind of create my aging. It'll take about 3 or 4 layers to get this just the way I want it. Alright, so now with the darker green fully dry, what I'm doing now is I'm adding some brown and some lighter green. The brown is to kind of stimulate kind of like dirt buildup in certain areas, and the lighter green is to kind of generate that kind of that mossy kind of color that these things generate over time.
All right, so here it is. Went ahead and brought it outside. It's all done, all painted, ready to go. We're going to do a quick 360 around so you guys can see the entire prop. Now, what I was trying to do on this side with that green is, you always got that one side that always tend to be in a little bit more shade than the rest of it, and it develops like that green mossy kind of color to it. That's what I was essentially doing on this particular side right here, and that's why it's real heavy and very predominant over here versus the rest of the prop. So I wanted this side to kind of have that look, so that's the reason you see it mostly there. It is in a couple other little spots, but not like this side. I was also trying to find the best balance possible between all the colors to try to give it the most natural but old appearance as possible. And I'm pretty happy with the way all these colors just kind of blended with each other, and just the tone, the shading, the overall look, the areas that are kind of highlighted to kind of show certain details about it. I think it just looks really good, and I'm really happy with the overall coloring and shading of the way this came out. But obviously, the biggest thing that I'm happy about is the fact that I was able to salvage it, because I hate giving up on something. I'll only do that if I feel that it's a complete lost cause, and I don't really feel this prop was that. I just had to come up with a different way or a different strategy to fix it, and I come up with that strategy and found a way to fix it. And as you can see, here we are. It's all done, ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and get up a little closer, kind of show some of the details. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We will see you guys on the next one. And thanks for watching.